Hey, what's going on YouTube? Mr. Football here, and today I have a top 5 video on the top 5 ways to become a starter in 2019. So we're going to talk about becoming a starter in football, and depending on what level you're at, these circumstances may differ, but overall pretty much the same general concept of these 5 ideas that I've come up with are going to be pretty universal as far as getting a starting job in the game of football. And this is from a coach's perspective. I've been coaching a long time. And, I look for these 5 things when I evaluate players for starting positions. So this is my criteria. This may differ from, coach to coach, but this is what I look for. And this is pretty much a universal thing that coaches look for when they are selecting a player to be in a starting role in the game of football. So when we start with this, we have to look at your talent. And I think number one is we look at talent. Do you have the talent to play the position that you've tried out for? Do you have the talent to, be in a starting role? Are you, how long have you played the game? These are all considerations we have to, to make. We have to look at your skill set. Depending on what position it is, there's a lot to say about, if you say you're going into high school and you've played, offensive line all your life, and then you decide you want to be a tight end. That's a common transition that happens at times. But, do you even, and if you say you want to try out to be a tight end, do you have the skill set to be a tight end? So those are things that you have to evaluate for yourself. And a lot of these questions we're going to ask today and all these things in my criteria, these are questions you need to ask yourself. But does your talent and your skill set match what is needed of a starter on your team? And so that's kind of what we talk about with the right skill set and having the talent to play. If the talent's not there, then that's when you take the time to step back and reevaluate and work on your skill set. And there's all kinds of circumstances that come up, and it doesn't mean that at any point during the season you could become a starter instantly. So we're just kind of looking at it from the position: do you have a starter mindset right now? Are you going to be a starter? You're going to remain a starter, and that's kind of what we look for. So after this part right here, after number 2, I'm going to tell you guys about a giveaway. So I want you guys to stay tuned for after I get done with my second point here on my top 5 ways to become a starter in 2019. I'm going to have some giveaway information for you guys of how you can enter a giveaway in this video. So stay tuned for that, and please watch to the end. The second thing we look for is, are you a hard worker? Do you have hardworking mentality? And I want you to ask the question to yourself: are you willing to work hard and continue to work hard? Like, that is something that you have to be able to establish. Are you a hard worker? I mean, is this something that comes natural to you? A lot of times it goes into, are you a hard worker on the field? Are you a hard worker in the classroom? These are all things that we have to consider. And the people that know you best are going to know if you're a hard worker or not. And so you have to ask yourself, are you a hard worker? Are you going to be willing to work hard for the starting position? And once you have that position, are you going to be able to work hard and keep that position? So that's something that you have to consider, when you become a starter. Not just because you have that role, now it turns into, if you say you get the role, now you have to be able to keep the role and continue to work hard. And not let the competition around you get you. All right, so before we get to number 3, I want to tell you guys about a little giveaway here, and I want you to stay tuned towards the end of the video so you can know how you can win this. So Shock Doctor sent me some mouth guards. I've got some extra mouth guards that they sent me that I'm publishing a review on. So I want you guys to stay tuned at the end of this video so you can figure out how to win this Shock Doctor Fangs mouth guard, full lip guard. So make sure to check out my other videos on the Shock Doctor stuff I've done. They were gracious enough to send me a lot of stuff to review and try out. So that's been a lot of fun. So definitely stay tuned to the end of the video to figure out how you can win that. So number 3 is attitude. You've got to have the right attitude to be a starter. And when I mean have the right attitude about being a starter, does your mindset match what your teammates want? Does your attitude all fall in line with what your coaches want? I look for players with good attitudes. I don't like bad attitudes. Bad attitudes are, very cancerous to teams, in my opinion, as a coach. So I try to find guys that mesh well together. And if there are bad attitudes, you try to correct those bad attitudes and you try to fix them. And personally, that's what I try to work on. But from the standpoint of the player, you've got to have the right attitude. And even if you get that starting role, are you going to continue to have that good attitude as well as you go, no matter what happens, for good or for worse? Are you going to continue to have a good attitude about it? And you can't throw a fit if you're going to throw a fit about it and blame your coach, blame someone else because you don't get a starting role. Bottom line is you have to continue to work hard for it. Maybe it's just not the right time. There's a time and place for everything in this life, so you have to understand where your time comes into this. So, it may not be now, but it may be later. So always continue to work hard, and that's the best advice that I can give someone that doesn't get that starting role. Number 4 is competing. And just the simple word is compete. This is a very important word to me, but do you have the willingness to compete day in and day out, practice after practice? This is something that's important to me just by evaluating players. Does this player, when the lights come on, is this player willing to compete? Even if it's not a game, is it a practice? Are they always competing in practice? Are they competing in the weight room? These are all things that we have to consider. Do you compete in the weight room? Do you compete on the practice field? These are all things that you have to be able to do. And you can't let the competition around you, alter you in any way. You have to be able to go above your competition and know that if the competition is great and becoming a starter, let's say that you want to become a starter and you're a sophomore in high school and there's 2 other quarterbacks, and let's just say you're a quarterback, your time's going to come, but you have to continue to work hard, be there every day. And just because you're not starting now doesn't mean you could be starting, even a few years from now, you could be in that starting role. So those are all things you have to consider. A lot of times we want things right now, and sometimes we have to wait for them and be patient about it. So those are all things that we have to have with the willingness to compete with those that are around us and those that are above us. And it's important to know where you fall into the team. If this is your first year in varsity football and you're a sophomore and you've made the team, you're pretty low on the totem pole. So you're going to have to come up with, where do you fit into this role? You're going to have to take your role and own it. Even if it's not, the greatest thing in the world, you have to be able to compete no matter what you do day in and day out. So that's competing for me. And then the final thing that we have, and this wraps up our top 5 ways to become a starter, is are you conditioned? Okay. And I just basically say conditioning because this is an important thing from a coach's standpoint, and it differs at all levels of conditioning. But what conditioning is, and if you don't know, this is how fit you are in the game of football. Football takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of time to train in order to be successful day in and day out, practice after practice, game after game. And being able to continue to work, continue to get better, and continue to push your body through what's hard, and that's what conditioning is. And part of conditioning is built into what coaches do with practice and how they structure practices, how they plan team events in the summer and in the spring. So those are all ways that get players accumulated, or what I should say is acclimated to the game, and also conditioned for the game. Because if you're not conditioned well enough, you can't expect to be a starter. If you can't go an entire game or several parts of the game and do the required things that are required of you to be a starter and be in that role, you're not going to see the field very much. So you have to be conditioned, and a lot of times that hurts players. Some players don't think that the early practices are important. Though those are the most important practices to be at, is those early practices that build the conditioning level. And then eventually football gets easy. and the hard stuff kind of gets away, and conditioning doesn't happen as often. So that's just those are my 5 things. You got to have the talent, hard work, the attitude. You got to have the willingness to compete, and then finally, conditioned. Are you conditioned to play the game? So that kind of wraps up the video. I want to tell you guys about this giveaway. Thank you for staying to the end. So the giveaway rules go as is, okay? So what we're going to do is I want you to comment down below what are your goals for 2019. And this can be anything. This can be a goal for football. It can be, you want to say like a goal for someone could be, I want to become a starter in 2019, or I want to make the team. I want to, win a district championship. I want to, do whatever, want to take my team to the playoffs. Those are all things to kind of consider when you comment down below. And what you'll need to do, like I said, comment down below. I'll respond to you guys. If you have any questions or any assistance with anything, I'll be happy to comment back with you and kind of open up that dialogue for you guys. But here next week, I will post another top 5 video, and I will announce the winner of this Shock Doctor mouthguard in that video next week. So you have 1 week to do this, to reply or to get down in the comments and leave what is your goal or goals for 2019, and then next week I'll announce a winner, and then you'll have some time there where you'll need to reply back to that comment and say that you've won, actually on the next video. So make sure you're subscribed, make sure you turn on the bell for notifications, follow me on Instagram at Mr. Football Coach, and we will see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Mr. Football out.